The driveway was empty when I got home. No balloons, no streamers, not even a car. Just the faint scrape of a leaf dragged across the concrete, like something was meant to happen, but changed its mind halfway through. I stood there for a long time, keys still in hand, trying to decide if I'd walked into a ghost town or just a memory I hadn't been part of. The air was still warm from summer, but something inside me had already cooled off. I remember what Mom said that morning. "We'll be out most of the day. Don't wait up, okay?" No explanation, no invite, just the kind of passing sentence that sounds like a warning if you know how to listen. I walked into the house and set my tote bag down. It was the one I'd used for my last day of college. The inside still had my ceremony cap, folded down like it was embarrassed for me. No one had opened it. No one had asked. The kitchen smelled like leftover frosting and perfume. I followed the scent. On the counter was a cake box from that expensive bakery downtown, the one I used to walk past when I was broke and hungry between classes. The box was half empty. A sliver of pink fondant peeked out like a grin, and beside it, an envelope. It wasn't for me. It never is. It had her name on it, written in Mom's best cursive. "To our beautiful graduate, except she's still in high school. She graduates next year. That's when I noticed the bow in the trash, and the key ring beside the toaster. I didn't want to check, but I did. The key fob said BMW, a small white tag, 'Happy graduation, baby girl. Love, Mom and Dad.'" Sat down on the floor of the kitchen. No one had even bothered to clean up. That's how little they expected me to come back. Like my presence was no longer something they considered. I wanted to laugh. I really did. Because last year, when I got my acceptance letter, Dad said, "We'll help however we can." And then 2 weeks later, he asked if I'd mind letting them hold my graduation savings, the ones Grandma left in a special account. "Just for a little while," he said. "We're in a tight spot." I said yes, because that's what I was raised to do. Be the responsible one, the understanding one, the invisible one. But I remember the balance. $12,000. It took Grandma a lifetime to put that away for me, and now it's gone. So she can have a BMW. So they can have something to post online. I didn't even get a text. Not a call. Not a seat at the restaurant where they took photos. Not a slice of cake. Just the faint sugar in the air, like a joke that was no longer funny. I opened the fridge. A single water bottle, no leftovers. It was like I'd been erased. But the funny thing is, I wasn't surprised. This wasn't the first time they celebrated her while pretending I was just background noise. I didn't say anything that night, just climbed the stairs, unpacked my cap, and set it beside the window where no one would see it. But I knew. That was the day something inside me changed. Not in rage, not in sorrow, just in distance. They bought her a BMW with the money meant for my future, and they forgot to invite me to her party. But that's okay. They won't be invited to mine. I didn't sleep much that night. The house was quiet, but not the kind of quiet that brings rest. It was that thick, humming kind of silence, like the aftermath of a family dinner where no one says what they're really thinking, the kind where even the walls seem to avoid eye contact. I lay there, staring at the ceiling fan, watching it spin like the hours I'd given to this house, every late shift, every canceled plan, every dollar I didn't spend on myself so they wouldn't have to worry. And for what? The BMW keys sat in the fruit bowl downstairs like a prize. She wasn't even home, probably out driving it in circles with her friends, music too loud, windows down, like she earned it. I went downstairs in the early morning barefoot. The kitchen was spotless now, like someone came through overnight and wiped away the guilt. Except they didn't know what to do with the frame on the mantel. It still had her picture. Not from yesterday's party, but from the last one, her sweet 16. The one where I helped set up everything, hung fairy lights in the backyard while they laughed with the guests. The one where I washed dishes while she opened gifts I didn't even know had been bought. I looked for a photo of me. One of those polite ones families usually put up, the graduate in a cap and gown. Nothing. Not even the one from community college last spring. That one had been mailed to them. I know. I paid extra for it. I stood there staring at the mantel and it hit me. They were proud of me when I was useful, not when I succeeded. I'd made myself small for years, helpful, quiet, dependable. The kind of child who doesn't need reminding. The kind who fills the fridge when no one asks. The kind who checks the thermostat at night because Dad forgets. They loved her in gold light, but they only ever looked at me in shadow. I walked into the garage. It still smelled like paint and motor oil. There were old boxes in the corner, my things mostly, school binders, a broken lamp I said I'd fix. One crate labeled college stuff, hers, in red marker, even though I was the only one who'd actually gone. Her new car wasn't there. Of course not. They had moved her to the driveway, center stage, but the old Honda was still parked against the wall. Mine, the one I bought off Craigslist. The one with a cracked mirror and a CD player that only worked when I smacked it twice. I ran my hand along the roof. It was dusty. This car got me to every night class, every library shift, every tutoring job. It smelled like black coffee and anxiety. And it was mine. I grabbed a towel from the laundry room and began wiping it down, slowly, quietly. I didn't rush. I wiped the windshield until my own reflection stared back at me. I looked tired, but older, not worn down, just peeled back. Like the version of me they once knew was gone. When Mom came downstairs around 10, she blinked like she'd seen a ghost. "Oh, you're here?" I said nothing. She stood there, awkward, in her satin robe, hair pinned back like she had something important to be. "You should have come yesterday," she said. "It was lovely. Your sister really missed you." I looked at her then, not with anger, just the way someone looks at an open door they have no intention of walking through. She walked into the kitchen, talking about leftovers and how tired she was from entertaining all day. She never asked what I'd done. She didn't notice the frame on the mantel was turned backward. Later that afternoon, she texted me a photo of the BMW. Captioned, "Your sister's first drive. She's so happy." No mention of the savings. No mention of the graduation IB. Worked for a loan. Just a car. A grin. And a digital silence underneath. I didn't respond. I just looked at the photo, then back at the Honda keys in my palm. And for the first time in years, I felt something warm start to return. Not anger. Not revenge. Just a new kind of quiet. One that sounded a lot like peace. The next morning I woke early. Not because I had anywhere to be, but because I couldn't lie still in that room anymore. The posters on the wall felt like echoes. The trophies on the shelf felt like lies. All the little reminders of who I had once been. The good kid, the reliable daughter, the one they never had to worry about. That was always the phrase, wasn't it? We never have to worry about you. But maybe they should have. I opened the storage closet in the upstairs hallway. It was a place no one really used anymore. The kind of space where time went to die. Boxes of winter coats, old school supplies, and photo albums. Some labeled, most not. And in the back, the gray plastic tub I had been looking for. My name was scribbled in black Sharpie. College stuff. Done. I sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping the lid open. Inside were the pieces of a life that felt too quickly packed away. My old laptop, with a cracked hinge. A stack of notebooks filled with lecture notes, highlighted and underlined. A coffee mug from the campus library. And at the very bottom, a thin, flat folder with a gold seal. My diploma. I held it like it was fragile. Not because it was, but because it was the only thing I had left that felt like mine. No one had framed it. No one had posted about it. No one even asked what the ceremony was like. And I never told them how I cried in the restroom before walking across that stage, because there was no one in the crowd for me. I was handed my diploma by a stranger and clapped for by an audience of other people's families. I smiled anyway, because I thought, maybe they'd care later. They didn't, but I did, and that difference started to matter more than I expected. Downstairs, the house began to wake up. I could hear her laughing. That overly sweet tone she always used when she knew she was being listened to. She was talking to Dad about the parking app for the BMW. How do I set it so it warms up before I get in? I wanted to scream. Not out of rage, but out of this sharp, slicing ache in my chest. The kind you get when you realize the people you love won't ever meet you where you are. They'll love their version of you. But not you. Later that day, I took a walk around the neighborhood. It looked the same, cracked sidewalks, hydrangeas blooming in yards that hadn't changed in years. But I felt different in it. Like someone passing through a place they'd outgrown without realizing it. I passed Mrs. Harlan's house. She was the one who used to give us gingerbread cookies at Christmas. She waved from her porch. "You back from school already, sweetheart?" I nodded, smiling. "Graduated last month." Her eyes lit up. "Oh my goodness, congratulations. They must be so proud." I paused. I could have lied. I could have nodded and moved on. But instead I said, "They didn't come." Her smile faded, a little. "Oh, honey," I shrugged. "It's okay. I went for me. That was enough." That night, I cleaned my old room, really cleaned it, cleared out the closet, took down the photos, packed every reminder of the version of me they liked best. I folded my cap and gown into the same tote bag I arrived with. I zipped the diploma folder beside it, and then I opened my notes app, apartment listings. Studio, 1 bedroom. Within 30 miles, no shared leases. They hadn't noticed me arrive, but maybe they'd notice when I was gone. Not because they missed me, but because the silence I left behind would finally be louder than the noise she made. And I was done handing them pieces of myself for free. I didn't tell them I was leaving, not yet. Not because I wanted it to be a surprise, but because I needed to see something first, something final, something real. That night, while they were out again, some neighborhood dinner for parents of graduates, I opened Dad's old desk drawer in the hallway. It creaked, just like always. And there, under 3 envelopes of bills and a flyer for gutter cleaning, I found it. The withdrawal slip, date, 8 months ago. Amount, $12,108.75. Memo line, from J. Chan Savings. Graduation act signed in his loose, tired scrawl. My name printed in small black font at the top. My grandmother's account. The one I was told still needed a signature to be released. Let the paper fall back onto the desk. They never waited for me to sign. They didn't even pretend to. I sat on the couch for a long time after that, holding the slip like it was a piece of someone I used to trust. I didn't cry. I thought I might. But the tears didn't come. Just a slow, quiet resolve. A soft understanding that I was never part of their plan. Just a safety net with a smile. I pulled out my phone and opened the tab I'd saved earlier. Studio apartment, 6.2 miles from campus. $890 month. Utilities included. Small, yes. But it had a kitchenette and a window that faced east. I clicked the button. Request a tour. Then I opened my bank app. $3,260 in checking. $1,121 in savings. Not much. But more than I thought. More than I'd ever kept for myself. I'd always handed it over. For groceries, for rent, for family things. This time, it was mine. Later, when they returned, I was already in bed. The kind of asleep where your body stays still but your brain is miles away, pacing the floor of a new apartment that doesn't even have curtains yet. Through the wall, I heard them laughing. Dad said something about how she really deserves that car, you know? Mom agreed. She's worked hard, and she's so grateful. I stared at the ceiling. Grateful? She hadn't even thanked me. Because she didn't know it came from me. Because they never told her. The next morning, I passed her in the hallway. She was wearing a new jacket. The kind with a logo on the sleeve and a stitched-on patch that cost more than my textbooks. She smiled like we were roommates. "Hey, going out today?" "Just errands," I said. "Oh," she nodded. "Want to see the car later?" I think I finally figured out the voice assistant. It can, park for you. I smiled. Maybe another time. She didn't notice the way my hand gripped the stair railing. In the kitchen, Mom was scrolling on her iPad. "Morning," she said. "Can you pick up detergent if you're going to the store?" I looked at her. Really looked. She didn't glance up. Didn't ask where I was going. Didn't say thank you for the years I bent myself backward for their convenience. Just assumed I'd keep showing up. So I said nothing. I just nodded and walked out the door with my keys in hand. I drove to the apartment complex. It was small, gray stucco, 3 stories. There was a rusted bike chained to a fence post and a line of mailboxes with fading numbers. But the minute I stepped inside the unit, the minute I stood in that little kitchen and turned in a slow, full circle, I knew. It was enough. More than enough, because it would be mine. The leasing manager handed me a clipboard. "Just sign here for the deposit. You can move in any time after Tuesday." I paused, pen hovering over the paper. Then I signed. Deliberately. Carefully. My name in thick blue ink. The way it should have been on that bank withdrawal. As I walked out, the sun hit my face. It felt warm in a way that didn't ask for anything. No applause. No approval. Just light. And in my mind, I heard the quietest version of my own voice say, "They don't need to know yet. But they will." I didn't buy the detergent. I walked into the store, picked up the bottle Mom liked, the blue one with the citrus scent she always said smelled clean, not fake, then set it back down on the shelf. I stood there for a minute, watching people pass me. A woman with 2 kids in tow, a man comparing labels on almond milk, a teenage girl clutching flowers. Everyone in their own orbit. No one circling me. No one expecting anything. It was the first time in years I felt unhooked. I left the store empty-handed. Back home, the house looked exactly the same, but it felt heavier. Maybe because I'd finally started packing the weight I used to carry for them into a bag of my own. I went up to my room quietly. They were downstairs. She was showing Dad something on her phone, probably a video of the car's sunroof. I shut my door. Not slammed, just shut. A small difference, but it felt symbolic. That night, Mom knocked. I almost didn't answer, but I opened the door, barely. She peeked in, holding a laundry basket. "We're out of detergent," she said. "You forgot?" I stared at her for a second. Then I said it, plain and even. I didn't forget. I just didn't buy it. She blinked. Why? I let the silence stretch. Let her feel what I'd felt for months. The pause after someone expects you to give and you don't. "I won't be doing the house errands anymore," I said. She frowned. "Well, I didn't mean you had to." "You always mean me," I said. "You just don't say it out loud." Her face shifted. That tight, confused expression she always wore when I stopped being the version of me she understood. The agreeable one, the easy one. "Well," she said, stepping back, "I guess we'll go tomorrow." I nodded once. "Yeah, I guess you will." And I closed the door again. I packed more that night. My notebooks, my books, the cardigan I always wore in cold classrooms, the mug from that tiny cafe where I used to study on breaks, everything soft and mine. I left the bookshelf half empty and took down the string lights. They'd always glowed warm, even when I didn't. The next morning, Dad tried to hand me cash. "For the stuff we forgot yesterday," he said, without looking up from his coffee. I didn't take it. Instead, I pushed a small manila envelope across the table. "What's this?" he asked. "My lease." He blinked. "Lease?" "I'm moving out next week." The room went still. Mom looked up from her phone. She laughed, soft, unsure. "Are you joking?" "No." Dad set his mug down. "I thought you were staying through. Summer," he said. "We haven't talked about this." "That's the point," I said. "You don't talk to me. You assume I'll stay, that I'll pay, that I'll drive, that I'll pick up your pieces." They stared at me like I was a puzzle that had changed shape overnight. "Where are you going?" Mom asked. "Somewhere I can breathe," I said. I stood up and walked toward the door. But before I left, I turned back and added, "And I want you to know, the graduation fund, I know what you did." Their faces dropped. I saw the slip. "You didn't even wait for me to sign it." Mom opened her mouth. "We meant to." "I know what you meant," I said. "You meant it for her. You always do." And I walked upstairs, not to cry, not to collapse, but to fold my clothes with intention. This time, I was packing to leave, and they would feel the difference. 3 days before I moved out, she finally asked. I was in the driveway, checking the tire pressure on the old Honda. The sun was still low, that soft hour of the morning when everything feels a little too quiet, like the world hasn't made up its mind yet. I liked that hour. It didn't ask anything of me. She came out holding her phone, wearing one of my old sweatshirts, the one with the faded print from my freshman year. She always took my things like they were hers, like I didn't need them anymore. "Are you really moving out?" she asked. I didn't look up. "Yeah." She crossed her arms, leaning against the garage door. "Why?" It wasn't defensive, just confused, like she hadn't noticed the fault lines in the house, like I was supposed to stay quiet forever and my silence was now an inconvenience. I stood, wiping my hands on a towel. "You didn't even tell me about the party," I said. She blinked. "What party?" I laughed, not loud, not bitter, just a tired, empty sound. "Your graduation party. The one you didn't graduate for. The one you had while I was upstairs unpacking my diploma." "Oh," she said sheepishly. "I thought you didn't want to come." "You thought I wasn't invited," I corrected. She shrugged. "Mom said it was just a small thing. For friends." "And the BMW?" I asked. "Was that for friends too?" Her face flushed. "I didn't know where the money came from. They just said it was a gift." I looked at her. "You never asked." That seemed to sink in. She stared at the pavement, scuffing it with her shoe. "You always made it look easy," she said. "Like school and work, like you didn't need help." I nodded. "And you always made it look like I didn't matter." She didn't respond. I opened the trunk, dropped in a box of books. "You got a car?" I said. "I got skipped." That night, she knocked on my door. I almost didn't answer again, but something in me, curiosity maybe, pulled me to open it. She handed me a small envelope. "I found this in Mom's drawer," she said. "I think you should have it." Inside was a printed receipt. The breakdown of the graduation fund, $5,000 to the dealership. $4,200 for catering, $1,800 for dress fittings, party decor, and a photographer. And then in pencil at the bottom, balance left, $117.92. They didn't even round up. She stood there, awkward, waiting. "I'm sorry," she finally said. I didn't know. I didn't nod. I didn't forgive, but I did close the envelope and say, "That's the difference between us. You didn't know. I didn't have the luxury of not knowing." The next morning, I woke up early again, but this time I felt light, like something had quietly unclenched in my chest overnight. I took my time, folding the last blanket, zipping the last bag. I left the room cleaner than I found it, because even when they didn't treat me like family, I still treated the house with care. On the way out, I passed the mantel again. Still no photo of me. So I reached into my tote bag, pulled out the print I'd kept folded in my notebook, the one from my actual graduation. Me, standing alone, smiling, proud, present. I placed it between her birthday photos and their anniversary picture, not to be seen, but so they'd have to look. The morning I left, no one came downstairs, not even her. The house felt like it was holding its breath, or maybe it was just tired from pretending for so long. I stood in the doorway for a few seconds longer than I needed to, staring at the space where the hallway met the kitchen, half expecting Mom to appear with her mug, or Dad to shuffle in and mumble something half-hearted. But no one came. They always assumed I'd be there. That was their mistake. I loaded the last box into the backseat of the Honda, my diploma, my notebooks, a lamp, a tiny plant I'd kept alive all through college, even when I wasn't sure if I'd make it myself. I didn't leave a note. I didn't owe them a goodbye. But I did unplug the Wi-Fi modem, wrapped it gently, left it on. The counter. My name was still on the account. They'd have to call and ask. They'd have to remember what I paid for. On my way out, I looked back just once, not at the house, but at the window to my old room. The blinds were tilted, just slightly, and I could see the pale blue walls I once taped dreams to. All of them quietly peeled away now. I took a breath. Not because I was sad, but because I needed to feel the air in my chest again. The kind that wasn't filtered through duty or guilt. And then I drove. The apartment wasn't much. 3rd floor, slight water stain on the ceiling, but the window opened fully, and the kitchen didn't echo with someone else's needs. I set down my boxes, stood in the middle of the room, and did nothing. Just let the stillness settle. It didn't ask me to explain. It didn't ask me to shrink. It let me be. Later that week, I got a text from Mom. "Hey, you took the router? We can't get online." No greeting. No, "How's the new place?" No, "We miss you." Just confusion about something they expected me to continue managing. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "Account's in my name. You'll need to start your own." And I blocked her, not in anger, in peace. That same night, I got a DM. From her. Just one line. "Do you hate me?" I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my journal and wrote the sentence I'd been waiting years to believe. No. I just finally love myself more. In the quiet of my new place, I stood by the window with a cup of coffee. The cheap kind that tastes better when no one tells you it's too bitter. Outside, someone was walking their dog. The street lamp flickered. A train passed in the distance, rumbling like a slow memory. And in that silence, I didn't feel forgotten. I felt free. It's been 3 months now. The apartment still smells faintly of cardboard and citrus cleaner, the kind I use to make the space feel more like mine. The walls are still mostly bare, but I've pinned up a few photos. Not of people. Just light. Shadows. A reflection I caught in the mirror once when I looked like someone I wanted to be. There's one picture on the fridge. Me, alone in my cap and gown, standing under the bleachers after graduation. No crowd. No family. Just that quiet pride that no one clapped for. But that stayed with me anyway. They never visited. Not once. Mom sent a few texts after the Wi-Fi thing, awkward, flat ones. "Hope you're well. We miss you." She didn't mention the graduation fund. She didn't apologize. Dad never messaged. And she, my sister, posted a new profile photo last week. Her leaning on the hood of the BMW, laughing. No caption. Just a flash of white paint and teeth. I don't follow them anymore. Not out of spite. I just stopped looking for myself in their version of family. I got a new job last week. Part-time tutoring at a nearby high school. The kind of job no one brags about at dinner, but one that makes me feel useful in a way that doesn't bleed me dry. After work, I come home and read by the window. I've started lighting candles again. The cheap kind that flicker like hope and hum like memory. Sometimes I put on music. Other times I'd just sit in the quiet and let the silence wrap around me like something earned. I haven't told them my new address. There's no need. If they ever wanted to find me, they'd have to look beyond the version of me that carried their weight, smiled through the exclusion, and paid their bills. They'd have to look for the girl who no longer asks to be seen. Last night, I opened my grandmother's old letter, the one I kept folded behind my diploma. I hadn't touched it in years. In her handwriting, small and even, it said, "This is for you, sweetheart. I know you'll do something beautiful with it, even if no one claps." I cried for the first time since I moved out. Not because I was sad, but because someone once had seen me. I poured a glass of water, sat on the floor, watched the light fall in slanted lines through the blinds. And in that moment, I realized they took my money. They erased my day. They never invited me. But they could never take the one thing that mattered most, the peace I found when I walked away.